Hello and welcome to the show. I'm Vila Bianca.
I'm Eric Murphy.
This is Skeptic Generation.
And we need to talk.
Oh, I should have said that too. I was going to be like, and I'm a potato.
You did it this time. You want to try again?
No, we're good.
Oh, fine.
We'll be here all day if we're going to try and do this without any errors.
True enough. It is Daylight Savings Day, so we are minus a little sleep. We stayed up a little late last night, and then we realized, we stayed up until the morning, and then we realized, oh my gosh, we're going to have one less hour. So we're kind of loopy.
Just a little bit. We got stuck because we found this live stream of this guy on TikTok who peels raw eggs very slowly so they don't pop or burst.
Yeah, you can remove the shell from the membrane.
And we got sucked in. It was like an hour. We were just watching this happen.
Just
and then we looked up and
entranced.
it's like, oh, it's 3 a.m. Cool.
Cool. Yeah, so be patient with us today. Speaking of TikTok, though.
Yeah, speaking of TikTok, I am finally on the app, and only to have made this video. This is the only reason I got on the app at all. So enjoy.
I'm a potato.
You're a tomato.
Potato?
No.
I said I was a potato.
No, you're a tomato.
No.
What are you?
I was a potato.
What are you, though?
Potato.
So you're welcome. And yeah, this was definitely kind of a weird week.
It has been. So just also to clarify, stay tuned for V on TikTok. I'm trying to get the Skeptic on TikTok going, but I know V has been avoiding TikTok because they knew they'd get sucked in.
Yeah, no, it will be a hyperfixation. I've already invested in one of those like collapsible iPhone stands, so I can do actual dances and shit. So we'll see. We will see.
I didn't know.
Yeah.
I've been wanting you to do dances with me for a while.
I mean, I'm in it now.
Okay.
I've been resisting, but now I'm in it, so we will see.
Okay.
So send me your favorite sounds, and I'll see if I want to make a TikTok to them, because that's apparently my life now.
Yep.
You guys, this is obnoxious. All right. If you didn't catch it, I was on Medical Myths with student Dr. Ben yesterday. We talked about the Bible and ADHD and kind of how some churches and some pastors will overstep when talking about things like mental health, and how that can be harmful. So definitely go and check that out. Eric was supposed to be on something as well, but you weren't feeling really good yesterday.
No, and I'm still not feeling good.
Yeah.
If I'm a little agitated today, please be patient with me. Yesterday I spent most of the day in bed. I want to personally apologize to Cindy Plaza. Cindy had asked me to be on their channel, PSF, yesterday. And
Her channel.
Their channel.
Her channel.
I'm sorry. I got the wrong
Default.
one. I apologize. Cindy, thank you for the invite, and I'm so sorry I was not able to make it. I hope you understand. So that said, though, anything else before we dive into calls?
No. Someone in the chat was the next step after TikTok is OnlyFans, and no.
There was a time in my life.
No.
There was a time in my life.
At some point.
Yeah.
That may have been a thing, but not anymore.
No, I put on some COVID poundage, and I don't think people want to see that as much as they used to.
Oh my gosh. All right, you guys, we're going to jump into calls. Let's talk with Robin first.
Sure.
All right, Robin in Texas. This is not that Robin, unless they have done something very...
I'm not that Robin.
Not that Robin. A
No.
nicer and more considerate Robin, hopefully.
Hi, Robin.
Welcome to the show. You want to talk a little bit about how not to straw man people with opposing viewpoints?
Yeah, I'm trying to get into creative writing, and I'm working on a piece about religion. And I'm an atheist, but I don't want to misrepresent. I don't want to paint with too broad of a brush to the point where I misrepresent people who have faith. But I also want to make something that's religious critical. But I also don't want to make atheists look like assholes.
Yeah, that's always very tricky, especially If you've watched things like, Midnight Mass or Raised by Wolves, that is kind of a thing that's happening now where people are actually explicitly getting into that division, which is cool. But yeah, it really does take a nuanced touch in order to keep it from becoming a straw man. Do you have a religious background, Robin?
My grandparents were religious, and my mom claims to believe it, but she doesn't really have a good reason. So whenever I was little, and they told me that God like drowned a bunch of kids and like killed a bunch of firstborn kids, and I was like, you said your God is good and perfect, right? Mm-hmm. So either you're lying to me or something just isn't adding up, and I walked away from it at that point.
Okay. Yeah. Well. At this point, what I would probably say is, do you know what the term sensitivity readers are?
Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of people who will be writing about maybe a group that they want to make sure they're accurately representing and not being insensitive by accident while they're trying to, communicate what their story's about, will hire people called sensitivity readers who are from that demographic and who have specifically offered to do reading of other people's work to make sure that, everything is, okay. So one thing that you might consider doing is, as you're writing this or after you've written it, however long it is, talk to somebody who you think might be willing to read over it and offer a theist perspective. Oh, hey, this might not be 100% accurate. Obviously, don't go to a pastor of your local church who's going to be offended by it, but there are plenty of theists who are open-minded and progressive enough to get what you're trying to do and offer good feedback. So
okay,
that would be my main... Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, since it's religious critical, that I want to get the point out of it. I did have 3 simple questions, and I don't really understand if we could get mostly through one of them.
Sure.
But I had 3 simple questions that I wanted to ask each of you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kind of to mine it for content. What at minimum would it take to convince you that a God exists? What at minimum would it take for a God to convince you to worship it? And what would you say to a God in our world if it appeared to you?
Ooh.
I like those.
Do you want to go first?
You can go first.
Okay. So let's go through them one by one really quick. So the first was, what would it take to convince me that a God exists?
Yes, at minimum.
Sure. So a definition that I can accept. Mm-hmm. If you define God as something benign, I'll probably be just fine agreeing with it. If you have a fantastical definition for your God, it's going to be more difficult. But
I've written down a definition that maybe we can start with.
Do you want to go there, or do you want the other 2 answers? It's up to you. How do you want the conversation to go?
Hopefully we could just, if you disagree with this, then we can move past it. If you disagree with it, we can move past it. Or if you agree with it, then we can, I guess, also move past it. But a disembodied consciousness with reality-shaping capabilities that is fundamental to the nature of our universe.
Oh, well, that's an interesting definition.
That's a really nice one.
Yeah.
So I think that you will get pushback from believers because it's a little too impersonal, because it doesn't include a lot of the caveats that they would want to put into it.
Although it does sufficiently move you from Kalam into sentient God territory if you accept that definition.
Fair. I would not necessarily pop the disembodied part.
I think that's key, though.
But I mean, in the Old Testament, you have people seeing parts of God's body, like God existed.
You just projected that to them. I know they don't know that that's real.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah,
I think that for me, a minimal. The first thing that would need to happen for that minimal acceptance of a God, based on the one you've described, is proof that there can be such a thing as a disembodied mind. And then also proof that minds can influence the physical world external from the physical world. So, our minds do not create physical things. Our minds influence our bodies, which then create physical things. So those two elements would have to be proven to my satisfaction to then allow me to think about maybe there is a larger or more comprehensive version of that outside of my understanding of the world.
Yeah.
So beyond proving that it's possible, what if a God was in front of you? Like, what would it take for you to be convinced that you're not just hallucinating?
A lot.
Yeah, I mean, getting other people to see that God as well, getting kind of, second, third, fourth parties who can, test and check that, you're not completely...
Right. There would
by
also
yourself.
have to be some form of residue, for lack of a better term. Like, we would have to be able to scan for something that was different in the space where God showed up, right? Like, oh, look, the I don't know, neutrons are spinning the opposite direction in this God-shaped piece of space. Like,
and this assumes that that assumes that it's disembodied. If you had, a physical body in front of you and you could,
yeah.
then that's a way to test that part. But
yeah. What about the second one? What would a God have to do minimally
for us to worship it?
To convince you to worship it?
Threaten me with a lot of pain. So there's a difference between get me to worship or whether or not it is worthy of worship. Mm-hmm. You could get me to worship if under threat of pain, for sure. That does not mean that it is worthy of worship. So,
what would it take for it to be worthy of your worship?
I don't know, because the thing is, the more I've learned and grown as an adult, the more I've realized that the kind of people who require that kind of affection and adulation from the people around them are generally really toxic. If you need people who are going to praise you with every breath, and like it's a very, very uncomfortable dynamic that I don't see a lot of benefit to. So I don't know what.
So the need of it to want you to worship it is enough to disqualify you from worshiping it on its own terms?
Well, I mean, I would be consistent in the way that I deal with people, right? So if I do that with people, then I would need to create a special section for God to get away from that, me being internally consistent.
Well, also, if a God requires, in order to sustain itself, your worship, then you are by definition more powerful than that God and can have it cease to exist by not worshiping it. Therefore, it doesn't deserve worship in the first place. If what you're trying to worship is some form of like omnipotence. So yeah, I think
and then
the
it
worship
vanishes in a puff of logic. Okay.
Exactly. It's like, clap if you believe. It's Tinkerbell.
Yeah. Anyway.
I think for me, worship is a loaded word, and it depends on what kind of worshiping you're talking about as well. Because there are, other religions where worship is not what, modern Christianity has made it into, right? I don't think anything could convince me, even threat of pain or death, to worship anything in the way that I used to as a Christian. But if we're talking from a more like pantheistic standpoint of like revering the universe for being life-giving, or, our ancestors for being the connection to a past we will never know, and like getting all esoteric, that's cool. I could see that being a thing at some point. But then that God would have to convince me that it held the same awe or wonder that the universe itself does.
Yeah, and it also depends. I mean, if there's a cost-benefit analysis there, like I like your pantheistic spin on it, because I think that if there was a pantheon of gods and there was a god of the harvest, and by worshiping it, it favored me and I got a better harvest, I could see myself being like,
yeah, maybe if there was a better cost-benefit analysis thing happening. That's funny. Yeah. And then, okay, Robin, what was the third one?
What would you say to a God in our world if it appeared to you? And you can use the Abrahamic God, or you can use whichever idea you want.
The Abrahamic God I'd have some words for. But in general, if someone showed up to me or something and was like, I am a God, I would say, cool, prove it. And if they did, minimally to my satisfaction, I'd be like, that's cool. Thanks for communicating with me, I guess. And if they couldn't, then I'd probably just ignore them.
Okay, yeah. That's reasonable.
I feel like if there were a God that met the kind of the definition of the God that I understood, the God that knew your every thought, then I'd have nothing to say, because there's nothing.
Because you're just gonna think it.
Yeah, and if you have a omniscient God, then there's nothing that I'm going to do or say that God hasn't already had to deal with.
You can't be surprised.
Yeah, so
So what
honestly,
if he gives you one chance to protest and listens to you?
I've been when I believed in a God, I was protesting, eventually, because I thought, there's way too much awfulness in the world. How could a loving God accept this? But if a God, I don't know, like if a God wanted to talk to me and they waited, then what would have stopped them from talking to me before? There's just...
I don't know. They were busy or they were sleeping.
They're like, I was talking to everyone else on the planet. Wait your goddamn turn.
I would say I forfeit my turn in line. Go and heal a kid with cancer, you asshole. Like,
Or, hey,
spend this time doing something useful.
Or we could just invite them on the show.
Yeah.
And be like, all right, we've been looking for you in public. Come on the show.
Skeptic Generation presents the Roast of God.
I mean, I would give anything for that. That would be amazing. All right, Robin, I hope that these questions were helpful for you.
Yeah, I'm sure they were. So I'm going to have to listen to them again and again. So I did watch Midnight Mass based on your review of it. I had tried to get through the first 2 episodes and I couldn't because of all the religious stuff. And then you recommended it, and I went back and I watched it again with my girlfriend. So yeah, no, you've already been incredibly helpful. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much, and good luck writing.
Take care.
Bye.
That was
nice.
An interesting call.
Yeah.
I love those kinds of questions.
Definitely. What I was a little worried about at the beginning was this kind of steelman push, because that's what I get a lot from atheists who write or call in. They'll be like, oh, well, every God has to be a young earth creationist, and every believer, needs to believe in literal interpretations of everything, and it's like, that's not useful. But no, this was not that. It was a lot better than I thought it would be.
Cool.
Yeah.
Let's talk with Xeno in South Korea.
Xeno!
Yeah, Xeno's called in before and is back to talk about proof of the existence of God. Xeno, you're a deist, correct? Just to make sure we're on the same page.
Yes, I am.
Okay, cool. So let's talk about it. What is your proof for the existence of God?
Okay. So I'm going to try to lay this out easily, but it's not easy. Okay, so
I mean, it is
first off, we have to lay out, we're thinking about this the wrong way. This is just my opinion.
Okay.
So we're trying to basically go where science can't take us. Okay, so the proof that I'm going with isn't going to be the type of proof that you probably would find substantial. So that's why I'm trying to, I'm like freestyling this. I have no notes. I'm trying to think of a way we could establish like different forms of proof, like a metaphysical proof. Is that possible for you guys? Or probably not, because you're atheists. But
I mean, atheists
what do you
are
think?
not automatically philosophical naturalists. So it is very possible that an atheist might be convinced by a metaphysical proof. I'm very curious what an example of a metaphysical proof might be that doesn't have to do with God, because we want to establish a category.
And so just before we do really clearly, this is going to get a little esoteric. We're going to do our best to kind of explain it to people, but at best, what we're going to do is come to decisions about a hypothetical God, because that's the limit of this kind of proof. So go ahead.
So give me something in the category of metaphysical proof that doesn't have to do with God.
Okay. So I think that question is a little incoherent. I don't mean to say that in a rude way. The reason I say that is because we're trying to demonstrate that events occur outside of our knowledge. And I feel like we have to do that not using the tools that we have, like math. I think we have to, a good thought experiment for this is, I wrote this down, the evidence for a God in the natural world is like saying, I need to learn more about spells in Harry Potter to find J.K. Rowling. So what I mean by that is, by using the math, like of the natural world, we're trying to prove this God. and your proof is based off of that math. What I'm saying is, I think we have to take a different approach, and it's like you're using a foreign type of math. Does that make any sense?
No, actually,
Not really.
So, for a couple of reasons. First off, if we're going to go with this conceit that we're in a book, for example, and I'm not using Harry Potter because I have issues with Joanne.
Well, I love that story, but
let's do Lord of the Rings.
Okay, Lord of the Rings. Well, I love that story too, but yeah,
Cool. All right, so we are Frodo and Sam and whatever character you would want to be, and we're
wait. Before you say that, is it going to work for people who haven't seen the movie, just for the audience?
Yeah. It's not.
Okay, all right,
I'm not getting into deep nerd territory here.
Dig the consideration though.
Yeah,
nice.
That's good. So here's my first concern, which is I don't think it is possible for Frodo Baggins to learn about J.R.R. Tolkien if he's a character in the book.
Me neither.
Right. So
Yeah, it's impossible.
Right. So if it's impossible, and what you're doing is making
into a different
a comparison, then wouldn't you say it's also impossible for us to determine or get to know our
Yes, exactly. That's
author?
exactly what I was trying to say, but you said it for me.
Okay.
So the problem here to me is we're going about this the wrong way. So let's use the Lord of the Rings example. We're traveling the land thinking we can find the writer. It's just no, you can't travel the land to find the writer. So when you ask me to show evidence of the writer, I literally can't do it.
Right.
But that doesn't negate that the writer is there. It just means,
for all intents and purposes, Frodo is never going to know about J.R.R. Tolkien. So why is this a question that we would expect Frodo to have an answer to?
well, wait a second. And Frodo's not the writer. Which one? Baggins is the writer, correct?
Frodo Baggins.
Frodo Baggins
Yeah.
character. So,
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah.
So I haven't seen that movie that much, but I do love it. So one of them is the writer. What if they did have a concept of something outside of their world?
Tolkien.
But it's never shown in the movie.
Well, so may I jump in for just a second?
Yeah.
Okay, so the first one is rationality, right? So if you were to ask Frodo about J.R.R. Tolkien, does Frodo have any experiences, or is there any way to test it? Because it's an unfalsifiable, untestable hypothesis.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, thank you. Because it's an unfalsifiable, untestable hypothesis, it is entirely rational for Frodo to look at you and be like, I have no idea what you're talking about, and that does not make any sense to me. That is rational, right? If you look up the definition of rational, is it internally consistent?
Yeah, that's
with the way that
rational.
you understand the world. So Frodo would be rational in saying that, right? In the same way that we would be rational in saying that I don't accept that I'm a brain in a vat, or that I'm in the Matrix, or that I just exist in somebody else's dream. All of those things are hypotheses that are equally untestable and unprovable. So in that way, all of those untestable, unprovable claims go in the same bucket of things that I really don't care much about until I have reason for otherwise.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I would call that a style. Like that's a thinking style that you're applying, right? That's that's the way it works in your world, right? But not everyone is a rationalist,
How
right?
does it
So
work
this
in
isn't
your
a scientific conversation. This is more of a philosophical one. Would you agree with that?
Yes and no, because they meet.
Okay.
Right?
Well, they do.
Science,
but we
science
have
is
to
rooted in
go
philosophy.
further than what science could take us. Correct?
No.
We don't?
No. I'll give you an example. Could you imagine a god that could snap their fingers and change gravity such that we could measure it?
I can't, but that would be like the argument of incredulity, right? Like I can't imagine it, but I'm not saying it cannot exist.
No. If that was my entire argument, that would be a terrible one. But I'm leading here. I'm building.
All right, sure. I'll take the bait. Go on.
So, if somebody believes that a god manifesting in the world could make changes in the world, we should be able to measure them. And
why do you think you would be able to measure them if you agree that the characters in a story could not meet the author or the writer or the creator?
That's a wonderful example. Yeah, no, that's perfect. God is the character in the story, and they are not able to interact with us, the people who wrote
Well,
the
no,
story.
God's the creator of the story, so how can the characters, get to know the writer.
Flip it around.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's get down to the meat of this, because I don't want to lose.
Okay.
Like, I feel like we're grabbing metaphors left and right. We want to just like.
Okay.
The main problem that I have with this thrust of conversation, Xeno, is that fundamentally I have a problem with talking about things being true or false that are unfalsifiable by any means that we have access to. So right now, you are presenting me with a true or false belief system that is unfalsifiable by your definition based on how we falsify things in this world. So my question for you is, how are you going to convince me that this either is falsifiable and can be proven, or that I shouldn't be concerned that it isn't falsifiable? Because one of those two things is going to have to happen if we're going to get to a point where we agree.
Well, I think what satisfies your answer is the problem at hand. So a good example for this is if I'm trying to get someone to quit their 9-to-5 job and maybe live off of passive income, if they don't want to do that, depending on who the person is, we can't change their mind. So I don't think I called in to change your mind. I kind of called in to give you something that you want. It'd be great if I could change your mind. But the best way I feel like I would be able to do that is to first tell you that we can't use the scientific method, in my opinion, to prove what we're talking about. We have to go into this somewhat unknown space and start proving things from there. We understand there's a lot of gray area, there's a lot of gray area, and we have to understand that these things are happening in a different place that we cannot see. So we don't have any evidence, and it sounds like a boring conversation to talk about things you cannot see.
Very interesting.
Yeah, I want to take one more stab at what I was trying to say, because I feel like I didn't get there, and I really
maybe I missed it. All right.
No. I wasn't super clear, so I want to try this one more time.
Okay.
When you say we cannot use science, I personally feel like that is only said because we have not yet used science to prove it true. If we did and could use science to prove it true, you wouldn't be saying, well, we just can't use it. It's outside of the realm of science. And so in my mind, I take that and I push that back on my definition of God and go, wow, okay, is a God incapable of being detected by science? Which would make that an impotent God.
I agree with your point.
Yeah, okay.
I do think at one point in time, we probably would develop the technology to perhaps maybe give you that type of evidence that would be so strong you couldn't deny it. And kind of back in 1,000 years ago, there's certain things we didn't have. Now we do have it. And I'm a music creator. I create all types of things, software. So I understand the idea of something before you have it. And as an innovator, I have to look for those concepts before there's even any demonstration of them. Well, just understanding that there is so much we don't know, but that doesn't mean you stop looking there. It just means you have to have a conversation about the unknown.
But here's the thing. You're using some very interesting analogies here. You're saying, I'm a music creator. I need to trust that I'm going to find something to create before I have a concept of it. I agree. But we know that music exists. Right? We have seen other people create music, right? It's not an unfalsifiable thing that music exists. We can prove that. So what I'm
Could you always prove music, though? That's the question. If we can go like a time machine backwards, could we prove it always?
Prove music? Yes. As long as people have been singing or banging rocks together, we can prove music.
But there was a point in time when that wasn't happening. Right.
Before music existed? That's an interesting type.
No. Music could exist before you learning about the concept. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, trees are in the forest, and we don't hear them all the time. We understand that.
And it still happens. So my point here is saying is that we can demonstrate music right now, but there's a time and place where we can't demonstrate something.
Okay, well, how would I, as a person who had never heard about music before, be introduced to the concept of music?
That's tough. That's why I'm starting the conversation by saying, all right, you would be rational not to believe in it, sure. But if we're really looking for truth here, you have to go outside of that rationality to understand there's things outside of what you can see.
No, not at all. Because
so you'd be wrong to not believe music then.
no, what
If
I
you
would
never seen
do
it.
if I met somebody who was
Or
like,
heard it.
I don't understand what music is, I have no concept of this thing, what I would do is I would turn on the radio and show them a song and say that is
No,
music.
let's assume we don't have the radio. Let's
Why?
assume that.
Why? No. Why
Because
would
we have to.
assume that?
We're in a time period where we don't have these concepts.
All right, so
we
I'd
have to
sing
use
a
that and be
song. I would
analogous to
sing
what we're
something.
talking about.
Yeah.
What
So,
this is not analogous.
No, if there's an intervention
It's not?
God, right? No, if like take for example, people who think that God can perform miracles, right?
Okay. I don't believe that, by the way, but yeah.
But in this example, right? If we were talking to somebody who believes that God answers prayers and performs miracles, we can test that, right?
How could we test that?
Oh, medical records.
You said, how could we test that? I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
No,
that part.
we could test that.
I don't think we could test if God. Well, yes, actually, you're right. Yeah, I don't believe God can create miracles, so yes, we can test that.
And if a God could create miracles, then we could test it. We don't need to go outside of
Yes.
rationality, right? We can.
So let me ask you this question: Could we test whether a DAO would work? A DAO is an acronym for a decentralized autonomous organization. Could we test that 150 years ago?
Oh my gosh, are you a crypto person?
Yes, I made millions off of it. I'm sorry.
my God.
And if you guys want to, I can tell you. But no, that's what I do. I'm a numbers guy.
All right.
I was in the stocks before that. But
Okay.
the thing is that, never mind that. I'm saying, let's not use a DAO. Let's use something else that you do not have a concept for. Okay. Are you telling me there is a world that exists where you don't have a concept for something and you can't prove it, right? Like we haven't always had the iPhone. We haven't always had.
Sure.
I don't want to say blockchain. Just anything outside of what you have in your normal world.
Right,
Do you feel like you always had evidence for the concept?
No, but you're confusing two things here. You're doing these are two different categories of thing. One of these things are things that have not been invented yet, right?
Right.
The blockchain,
That's what we're talking about.
Right. The blockchain did not exist prior to the technology that allowed
So
it
how
to
would I
exist.
prove to you that we would have it? How would I do that?
That you knew
Because we do have it.
in the past that we would have it?
Yeah, as an innovator and creator, how could I prove to the normie, and I'm not calling you a normie, but just someone who didn't study all that stuff, how would you prove that to someone who didn't study the field
Show
Do it.
of
Make it.
blocks and DAOs and whatnot?
The time for a person to believe you is when you can demonstrate it and show it. So
Correct.
No, I don't. That's your style, though. You can't put that style into everyone,
No,
right? Or we wouldn't have
okay,
creators.
Okay. Here's an example. Xeno, pretend I'm an architect, okay? And I'm going to tell you that,
Okay,
that
sure.
I'm going to build a skyscraper. What does it look like?
Okay. Well, you need to give me a reference.
Oh, I need to.
That's what we're going off of.
No. I'm asking you what it looks like. So I give you V as a reference. V tells you Eric knows how to build buildings. Eric's an architect.
Okay.
Okay. What does it look like?
We have to start from a reference. We can't go on yet. We have to start from a reference first, like a blueprint.
Oh, a blueprint. Okay, perfect.
Yes, you need a blueprint first,
Okay.
but we have to conceptualize it from nothing, from our minds.
So hold on a second. The blueprint is required, right? So I show you the blueprint.
It's not required, but yeah, it helps.
I show you the blueprint. Do you believe that I built the building already?
No, that's a concept. Not yet.
Okay, so
It's a concept that you came up with.
So I demonstrated the concept for you. It was rational for you to accept that when I showed you the evidence, and then I asked you.
Well,
is
it depends. Am I a naysayer? Like maybe I would say, well, maybe that could never work. So it depends, and that's why I say it depends on the person and how they understand the ontology around them. But let's keep it going.
So each step along the way, it's not rational to believe something without any kind of concept about it. That's
Well, that's what they say. That'd be an ad populum fallacy, right? Like just because they're telling you what rationality is doesn't mean
No,
that's
that's not
exactly
what
how
that
we should
means.
operate.
no rationality. is
Wait.
entirely
So
internal.
the ad populum fallacy is against the rules?
No, hold on. Rationality is internal, right? So your rationality depends on your epistemic toolbox. If you have these tools and that's the answer that you get to.
Yeah, ants are rational, but they
That
can't
is rational.
conceptualize of a blockchain, right?
Well, you can. So it would
I
be
can because we're
irrational-
different species.
So it would be irrational for them
Different species.
we're different from the ant, so we can conceptualize
Oh, okay,
it.
I missed
yeah,
ant.
I'm
I was
talking
thinking,
about
I was
other
like,
people.
well,
Okay.
we're taking normies to a
No,
new
I'm not
level,
that
man.
far off.
Yeah.
I'm really not that far gone. At least, please bring me back if I am. But
Well, I know that that Skeptic has not set up anything to accept crypto, but we're happy to keep you level if you want to support the show.
Okay, so here's the problem. Here's the deal.
I'll keep that in mind with my Ethereum. But go on.
Don't hold our breath.
I'm sorry. Go on. Let's make this about God again.
So we could go in many directions here.
Yeah.
So my concern here is that we seem to have changed focus from a thing that exists now that we cannot prove, and we've moved into a space where we're talking about things that may potentially exist in the future that we can't prove now because we are not in the future. And that second one, I agree with. I think that there are things that we as a species cannot comprehend because it hasn't happened yet and we haven't made some kind of philosophical or technical or social breakthrough. Right? That's fine. I agree with you. But that's talking about something temporal. That's talking about something that is a result of how we experience time. It's not talking about a thing that exists now, like God, or existed in the past, that we cannot, with any measure that we have, confirm exists or not right now. Do you understand why?
No, my response to that is yes, I agree. And science does do a good job at explaining the functionality of objects, components, and variables, but we still need to work out what they are. So science does kind of give an explanation of what these things, like the functionalities and the utility behind it, but we still can't go into this area of like what they are. And that's kind of why I started the conversation with, I think this is a very difficult conversation because we can't just say, hey, well, demonstrate to me this evidence of something that we don't have. So then we should just shut down the conversation because there's certain things that we didn't have evidence for, but us innovators and creators, we built all of this. We had to come up and conceptualize the blueprint, quote unquote, and
So you had
and
an
work this
idea.
out into reality before we had it.
Okay.
Before it was
Oh,
even
oh,
here,
oh,
we
oh.
had to work that out.
Hold on. I feel like we might have been talking past each other.
Oh,
Is this
okay.
is this a platonic idealism situation here? Are you talking about?
Can you summarize?
Yeah. So I've been under the impression, and this might be where we're missing each other, that things don't exist until we create them. Like the blockchain did not exist somewhere out there until people had access to the concept and brought it into this world. I think that
that's
it
what
didn't
you
exist
believe.
at all until somebody was like, hey, what if we did X, Y, and Z? And then they did X, Y, and Z, and it became something that existed. Are you suggesting that things that we do not have access to yet still exist right now in
Just
some
in the
like
nether?
other
Yes, because facts are prior to proof. That means even if you don't know about it, it's happening right now.
Okay.
I call that the negative zone, by the way. So that would an example of that is something happening even though you can't witness it. Like, it's the party going on even though you're not there.
So
yes, the party is going on even
Yeah.
though you're not there.
Have you looked into Platonism?
No, but I'm going to after this.
You
Well,
should.
probably
You
next
should.
week.
Should.
But
So
is that that's what we're describing here?
Yeah, it's kind of it's based on
good call, V.
Plato, the philosopher, saying, "Hey, we have this mug, right? This is not the mug. This is based on a concept of a mug, a perfect mug that exists out there in an ideal space, and we access that concept to make this mug that looks similar,
Yes.
but is not the same." So I feel like you're probably very close to that, but I'd be
Well,
curious.
I'm a creator. I create all types of things. So I just want to ask you and Eric a quick question.
Yeah.
V, have you ever created anything? Are you artists of any sort? I've
Never
make music?
created a single thing, you know.
So that's why
Certainly.
it's so difficult, I think. What about you, Eric? Have you ever created anything?
You're on the
V's
show
being-
that
V's
we
being
created,
facetious.
It's
man.
like it's an artist explaining it to the admirer of the picture.
V's being facetious. We are both.
Oh, okay.
We're
Oh,
both
sorry.
creators. No, that's okay.
I don't mean to sound condescending, but yeah.
No, so here's the thing.
You can't draw. But no, go ahead.
But ultimately, I would love to have you look into Platonism? Because I feel like at this point, our kind of experience working in that area that wouldn't match the kind of experience that you do. And so it would just be us smacking you with concepts that you still need to read, and that would just be rude and condescending.
No. I mean, I've grinded enough, Eric. No, that's not. That's not. I hope that's not what you mean. I have done enough to come and talk to you and feel equipped to have this conversation.
Okay, then.
But I just want to say,
can we talk? Like this is a defense of Platonism.
No, but here's the thing, Xeno. I think we will get a better conversation if you first go look at Platonism a little bit more and make sure that that's what we're talking about. Because if it's not what you're talking about, then we are going to be missing.
No. All right. What's that one definition you guys brought up in the show where it means you're taking time because you can't agree on a definition? What was that word?
Oh,
pettifogging.
Yes, pettifogging.
Okay.
I kind of feel like that situation's happening right now.
Well, here's the deal.
Like when we both agree, I know what you're talking about. It's really not a hard concept to understand, right? Like if you're not there to hear the tree, do you believe that the tree actually fell because you weren't there to witness it? I understand that.
No, but that's not concept. What we're talking about, though, which is the problem. So, here's the problem. You're correct in a way that we're working with different styles of how we look at the world, and I think we've identified a very core one, right? We've identified one here. Unfortunately, we do have to move on to other callers, but that's not going to be a situation where we don't want to talk to you again.
No, it's just because it's been a long call.
Yeah, I want to call back next Sunday to understand, like, can I get one little answer and then I can hang up? Just one tiny answer to something?
We'll give it a shot.
Maybe.
Okay, so, all right, quickly, if you're not in the forest to hear the tree fall, did it fall? I'm asking you, V.
Yes.
Okay, Eric, do you agree?
I mean, trees fall all the time. So I
mean, okay, so what if you didn't have knowledge of the trees? Do you feel like, well, because you missed the facts, they're not happening?
No.
So you do understand these facts are happening, whether or not you know about it.
The thing is, yes, we agree that we are all coming at everything, learning new things all the time, and being apprised of concepts we previously didn't have access to. The problem is it breaks down after that, because it seems like you're advocating for just accepting that things happen, and the only examples you're giving are things that we could verify scientifically and through our senses did or did not happen. If I'm not aware
except
of
for God, it's not
right, which is the problem. Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where we're running in circles. We agree that we don't know everything, we can't know everything. There are concepts we have no clue about that other people might have, deep knowledge of.
So I feel like this is the meat and the potatoes of the argument. So next time when I call, I know you said you don't want to talk about it, but can we please have another conversation about it? Because I think this is where the answer actually lies.
Xeno, we are more dialed in than we were before. I absolutely love it.
Okay.
That sounds great.
I love talking to you, by the way. Like, y'all two are awesome.
The fact that you called in early enough makes me very happy. I want to...
It's late here in South Korea. I'm not supposed to be awake right now.
Well, get some sleep. Thank you for calling.
I'm thinking all night, like, how can I prove that Eric and Venus exists?
Oh, my God. All right, well...
So, no, I'm joking. It's not that serious. But,
take care.
All right, you guys have a good one.
Bye.
You too.
Bye.
I feel like it's a weird, I feel like Xeno stumbled upon presuppositionalism by accident and doesn't know the script for it, but is still kind of repeating a lot of the stuff because he's kind of reinvented it.
We find ourselves reinventing these concepts all the time, which is amazing, and it definitely goes to
he got to Platonic idealism without knowing what Platonic idealism is. There's a reason these things keep coming back, and it's because the way our brains are wired, heuristically, it makes sense.
Yeah.
But that's really fun. I love that he thought I didn't know what a Tao was. All right. Let's talk with Relic in Texas.
Oh, really quickly before we do. Hey, everybody.
Hi.
Skeptic Generation is brought to you by you. If you like what we do and you want to support us, consider going to patreon.com/skepticgeneration. That's patreon.com/skepticgeneration. We've had a number of people who had to do other things. They've reached out and said, hey, I wish I could help, but I've got other stuff going on in my life. So we would love it if you can spare a buck a month or a buck an episode. It really does help. Also, I forgot what I was going to say. So let's just move on.
Also,
I'll remember.
Relic in Texas.
Yeah, also Relic in Texas.
All right, this is going to be an interesting one. Does humanity crave its own end? We're getting like a lot of esoteric, like really intense snippets here, like the world before music existed and negative space and like.
And this is my jams, and it's on a day that I'm not feeling good.
Relic, welcome back.
Hello, Via and Eric. It's nice to talk to y'all again. And by the way, Eric, I swear I thought you were about to reveal some sort of audiobook for the Book of Eric. So.
Oh, man. One day.
Yeah, someday.
One day.
All right.
Anyways, I know this is going to be a... Oh, sorry.
Oh, I remember what I was going to say. Hey, smash that like button, everybody. Hit subscribe, ring the notification bell.
That's embarrassing.
Relic, go ahead.
We've been YouTubers for a long time.
It's okay.
We forgot to say like and subscribe.
Yeah, we don't do it.
Oh, gosh.
Okay.
All right. What's up?
Okay, so I know this topic's going to be a little bit darker than my last few ones, but yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah. We've got this sort of reoccurring doomsday narrative that comes in every form of... I'm not going to say every form. That's uncharitable. I'm going to say that a majority of world religions tend to have a sort of end goal that ends in the world destroyed and something being renewed, and there being some sort of reward for the people who stick through their faith. And I feel that this doesn't only stick with religion, that this sticks with all sorts of people from all sorts of walks of life, because I secretly, and this might be a little bit dark, but I think that people sort of just want there to be an end. Like they want a bookend to their existence.
Yeah, I can see that being the case. I think that there is some context here that would be helpful, which is the concept of doomsday and Armageddon and, the book of Revelation. All of this, the way that we interpret it started like in the 70s and 80s, right? That's recent. That's not everybody and has not been the case for all time. But there was a shift that happened during the Cold War where the U.S. and probably a bunch of other Western countries as well were finding the concept of the end very present in their lives. And what they ended up doing was forming a religion around it, right? And making that religion into something else. And then that religion then fed into the culture, and it's just a feedback loop. So right now, I think you're absolutely right. It's not just religion, but I bet you anything you could tie it to the creation of the doomsday mythology in the 80s very easily.
Right.
But yeah, I think it's definitely not just religion-centric. In fact, we've had atheists call in who are trying to get out of that mindset regardless of their God belief, and they're like, I'm a survivalist and I feel panicked all the time that, nuclear war is going to happen or something else. So yeah, I think it's a human thing that has been exacerbated by how society is talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's my 2 cents.
Well, yeah, but I would say that, it goes back a tiny bit further because this stuff has always been in fiction as well, to where, there is these very morbid sort of old-school novels, for sure you have Mary Shelley's The Last Man and all these other things, taking humanity to its natural conclusion as sort of like a self-satisfaction for the writer themselves. And of course, with nuclear weaponry and the sorts, I think people don't really understand that, because we've been born in it, we've been heavily desensitized to the idea that our lives could end up in a flash without any prior knowledge to anything starting. How this topic came up to me, or how it got freshened in my mind, is there was a debate on Modern Day Debate that was talking about, is the invasion of Ukraine justified? And that shocked me because immediately there should be that outspoken crowd going like, there is no justified reason for a war. The best way to win a war is to not play. And
Depending on who you are
immediately,
in that war.
True. Like, I'm talking about, like, you got to defend yourself, that's one thing. But when we're talking about, like, a superpower invading someone for resources at the cost of hundreds of thousands of lives, purely for a resource and not for any actual strong reason, I don't think there's a justified reason for it.
But that might be a
especially when...
Relic, that might be a straw man, though.
Oh, sorry.
Because do you think that that's the narrative that they're telling themselves? Whether or not we agree that, that's the case, we have to recognize that people are operating in their own narratives. Nobody thinks that they're the villain of their own story. And so whatever they happen to think it is. And that's why you have campaigns of dehumanization across history where people will paint the other side as something vile or terrible to justify the Crusades, to justify, the prior world wars, to justify all of those. It comes from a dehumanization, conceit, not just from resources. So,
of course,
if you want to discuss it, if we're saying, oh, this person is just going to war just because of resources, that is not being the generous interlocutor that
I don't know how generous we need to be with warlords, but point taken.
Yeah, you're not going to get through to them, and they're not going to listen to you if you say, well, you're only here for resources, and they're like, no, here's my other reasons. And you're like, well, okay, that's bullshit. Like, it totally depends on what you're, if you're just talking to us about outside stuff, okay, we're on the same page, we can move forward. But it just depends on, who you're having this conversation with.
Yeah. Relic, I think that it's worthwhile to have this conversation, but I'm not really sure where else we can go with this unless you have additional questions for us here.
Yes. One, just a quick response to the generosity. I think you have a great point, Eric, and I think that everybody does think they're the hero of their own story, but outside of that, from an objective standpoint, I mean, from just a secular humanism standpoint, war in itself causes more harm than good.
Yep.
I agree.
Yeah.
And I am more than willing to be like, if someone believes they're justified, but I bet Hitler believed he was justified in what he was doing as well. And that's when the justification gets pushed back on, because I don't really care about some dictator's feelings when it comes to hundreds of thousands of lives.
Yeah. I mean,
you're not going to get pushback from us.
Yeah, this is we're not going to be disagreeing there.
We can probably talk more about the topic that, as it says in the notes, does humanity crave its own end? That's something that we can bite.
Yeah, that's where I wanted to lead.
Yeah, Relic, I'm actually really interested because you are a theist. Where do you think that craving comes from?
Okay, this requires a tiny bit. I'm just going to ask the question. Have any of y'all read a book called The Conspiracy Against the Human Race? It's by an author called Thomas Ligotti.
Nope, but I'm making a note. That sounds interesting.
Yeah. It's one of the darkest philosophy books you're ever going to read. And it comes from the idea that, like, people believe that existence itself is pain.
Yeah.
Oh,
and that there is... Yeah.
Okay.
But, like... Yeah, it's a very... Existence is a net negative, period. That, like, there are... I believe that, like, people use the end to justify a scoreboard for themselves sometimes. Like, when you have someone, let's say, who's and I'm not going to say this for any religion, I'm just saying an extremist who's like, yep, Revelation's going to happen any day now, and you just watch when it happens because I'm going to be there because I told you so. There's the indoctrination, and then there's the sects that are like, no, humanity has had its run, and I think we're just a scourge on the universe.
So those are two reasons that I'm sure plenty of people give. I know that there are lots that we can come up with. I really don't know where to move forward from that. That's like I
mean,
I get
it sounds interesting, and
but it's not all encompassing either. It's
right.
just,
Relic, I think we're going to have to move on, but
That's perfectly fine.
yeah. But I made a note, and I'll make sure to link that book in the description as well, in case other people want to check it out.
Relic, can you do me a favor in the meantime? Take a look.
Of course.
Are you using a cell phone or a headset?
Cell phone.
A cell phone? Take a look and see what your volume settings are. Because last time you called, for some reason it was capping out, and you were kind of redlining, and it creates this really high pitched, crackling. And what's funny is because we push it down, that crackling isn't blowing people's ears out, but it is creating that sound. And when I was running a click remover through your section of the podcast, I removed over 11,000 clicks. Well,
oh my God.
the program did.
You had no idea, did you?
Yeah. So like, if you could do.
Well, I heard it and I thought it was a little bit crazy, but I thought maybe it was my phone glitching out. I don't know. I'm going to have to invest in a headset in that case if I call back again.
We would sincerely appreciate it. But by the way, if it does bother you, you could listen to the podcast, or because it's.
Eric does a lot of work to make it sound very nice and creamy. All right, Relic, thank you so much for calling in.
Take care.
Thank you all.
All right, I am very excited to talk to Jay from Missouri. Called in last week, I think.
They say that their pronouns are Jesus loves you.
Hey, Jay.
Thank you very much. Hey, how you do? First time caller. I admit it. I do like your show.
Well, thank you. Thanks for calling in. You want to talk a little bit about why atheists might hate God if God doesn't exist?
Exactly.
Sure.
Okay.
Do you have any favorite fiction stories? Like, have you read Lord of the Rings or some other...
Die Hard.
Yeah, movies, or maybe, Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Have you read, the Chronicles of Narnia?
Yep.
So those all have antagonists, right? Like you have the Ice Witch?
The
The
witch, yeah.
Yeah, you have Sauron. You have.
Wow, you pronounced that weird.
I was gonna say Saruman, and then I was gonna say Sauron.
Both of them. So,
True. But I mean,
you get where we're going with this, Jay?
Yeah, Hans Gruber.
Yep.
Oh, no, I don't. I do not get where you're going with it. Go ahead, explain.
Okay. Go ahead, Eric.
Sure. So, I mean, it's in two parts. This one's a little, sarcastic, but we can dislike bad guys in stories. So if something doesn't have to exist for us to not like it, but as far as why do atheists hate God? Because you believe that a God actually exists, right?
Oh, most definitely, yeah.
Okay. Do you think that we believe that?
Yes and no. Yes and no.
Well,
I do.
so as an honest interlocutor, the best thing you can do is give us the benefit of the doubt that we're telling you the truth. Right? You don't
believe it.
Right. So do I hate a God that I don't believe in? No, actually I don't have hate there. In that example, which I think is probably the most relevant to what you're saying, I don't have hate there.
Would you say most atheists hate God?
No. Not like that.
No?
No. So that actually is a thing that I remember being told in church, that atheists hate God. And what it did is it negatively, I did not have a clear understanding of what atheists believed because I believed the line that I was being told in church. And it actually really hindered my ability to talk to people. So if it helps, the idea that atheists hate God, no, we're... We're good.
I've talked to a lot of atheists. I've talked to a lot of.
Go ahead. Sorry.
And the majority of them do hate God. Like people on a lot of atheist channels. Like if I start to conversate with them about, I like debating. And so they'll block me. I think they're really a communist. They don't want to hear another side. So, I've experienced tons of it. You know what I mean?
Can we put a pin in communist? Because I've met plenty of communists who are happy to, learn and discuss things. Like somebody's capitalism versus communism, I don't think comes into the conversation. I feel that might be a red herring. So let's put that down for just a second.
I mean, we were talking about the Cold War, and they were very much linked at the time.
But I know that Jay has a serious question here. I want to make sure that we're focusing on it. So you've interacted with atheists on the internet who are saying that they hate God. Is that right?
Yeah, basically. Well, I mean, I just like to hear your opinion. You know what I mean? Because really, I mean, I do think atheists are communists. In their ideas, they don't want freedom like we have in America. They don't want the debate. They want to get rid of the religion. Am I correct? Would you say that? Would you want to get rid of religion?
No.
Or most atheists?
No.
No. And also, please, you're using communist in a really funny way, and it's not.
I'm just curious. What, Jay? How would you define a communist?
Yeah, you're using it in weird ways.
I guess I would just say, they want to control. Somebody who wants to control doesn't want freedom. Just like a communist country, they want to have everything their way, basically.
Okay.
I know there's many definitions of communist, but
we don't understand that definition the way you're using it, because controlling the means like people controlling the means of production doesn't have anything to do with whether or not those people have freedoms, and the idea that somebody wants to take that, it's weird. But let's get right to it. Do I want to get rid of all of religion? Right? Is that the question?
Definition of communism.
What's my definition of communism? Hello?
Yeah, go ahead. Can you hear me?
Sure. I can give you a whole lot of my understanding of it, but I think that I'm going to put my foot in my mouth right now. And so V's
you wouldn't are communist?
V's looking it up right now. But I would say, who isn't communist?
You wouldn't say atheists are leaning towards a communist? Would support communist agendas?
No,
is that what you're saying?
not.
Yeah,
honestly, I think it's a little bit of a problem. I think atheists, by and large, in the United States at least, are very individualistic. In fact, they make it one of their kind of points of pride to be individuals who are not led by anybody and who don't want anyone to tell them what to do. So I think a lot of atheists in the United States are actually about as far away from communism as you can get.
Yeah, I think that you're coming from a background that uses communism as a slur, and that creates a straw man. You know what a straw man is, right, Jay?
Isn't a slur?
Not actually, but it can be used in that way.
Yeah, and I come from a place... I've come from places where, and I've met people who use that as a slur. It's a misunderstanding that's going to get you nowhere. It's not going to move the conversation forward. It's not going to properly understand the other person. It's a bad way of moving forward. You can do it in your in-group because you might not care about whether or not it's true, but it's not helping. So let's take that and go to what you're trying to ask. It sounds like you're trying to ask, do we want all religion to go away? Do we want to control the world and make it the way we want it to be? Is that about right?
I would say most of, basically atheists, they don't want...
You're talking to us, so I don't want you to explain outside people, because I agree there are lots of atheists that believe lots of things, but you can talk to us, and the way you do that is ask us.
Okay. All right, I'll ask.
Cool.
I want to make a point though.
Sure.
The lady, last caller, You never said anything to her. You know what I mean? When she said religion, oh, it's all a new, this is all new to started in the 70s. You never said anything to that about that. You never said, well, what proof do you have of that? And you just let her talk along. You know what I mean? So I understand that atheists don't have to have their facts straight, but you hold us to a different standard. Correct?
No,
that's what I've noticed.
I actually call other atheists to the table way more often than I do Christians.
Well, why didn't you call her to when she was spitting all them false lies
about what?
About the Bible. This is a new new concept about the end times and stuff like that. No, that was a lie.
Oh, Jay. So that's their interpretation.
Exactly.
Yeah. Do you have an interpretation, or do you think you have access to the absolute truth? Do you?
It's been known for years. What's going to happen? The New World Order. This is nothing new.
Jay.
This is nothing new.
Jay. Do you think we believe that? Do we think
it's written?
Jay.
It is written.
Yeah, there are lots of things written. Just because it's written doesn't mean it's true. You understand that, right, Jay? You know that fiction exists.
Oh, well, we'll see if it's fiction or not.
Okay, hold on, Jay. No, wait. You understand that fiction exists, correct?
I understand that.
So hold on. You understand. Let me walk you through this because I want to make you a better partner in this discussion. When you said it's written, you said that in a way that sounds like just because something is written down, it's convincing. And so I asked you if you believe that fiction exists because I want to know whether or not you know that just because something is written doesn't mean it's true. So the argument that you gave, right, what you said was not helping what you're trying to prove to us.
But have you ever read it, though?
I have.
Yes, multiple times.
Yeah, I have a lot of family members who believe that crap. I actually wrote a letter to George Soros once.
You might not be watching right now, Jay, but we are currently holding an enormous Bible just for purposes like this.
But this is conspiracy theory stuff. This is extra biblical.
I'm saying about the World Order since you've read it.
Yeah. So Jay.
New World Order. Read it.
Jay.
Jay, you're breaking up really badly.
Yeah.
Can you make sure you're close to your phone so we can actually hear what you're saying?
And I know we're all getting excited, so it's probably not helping. But Jay.
Go ahead.
Do you understand that other people have interpretations of the Bible that don't include a New World Order? Do you understand that?
Well, I understand that, but do you understand there's only one there's only one Bible?
Jay?
There's only one written text.
Jay, do you think you're helping your argument with the thing you just said?
Okay, I'm going to explain to you why I said this. I understand that people interpret it, but it's only written one time. Original Bible is written one time. Okay? Just because people twist it a little bit to make money for copyright interpretations doesn't mean that the original Bible is wrong.
Okay, so
I want to know where this original Bible is.
Yeah, because it was written over the course of hundreds.
There's thousands
of years.
There's thousands of texts and copies of that we have.
But those are all not the original Bible, right?
Yeah. What chapters are in the original Bible? Is it just the Old Testament you're talking about, or are you talking about the New Testament?
Well, I will tell you this, that for thousands of years, we have
the New
evidence of...
Hold on. The New Testament wasn't around for thousands of years. Is the New Testament in the Bible that you're talking about?
Is the New Testament in the Bible about? Well, the Bible, the books in the Bible are different books.
Okay, but you said there was only one, and it was written only one time, right? There was one. It was written once. There's only one definitive copy, correct?
I'm talking about the original, how the book.
Oh,
You know what I
the
mean?
books, plural, as in there's only one original book of Matthew. There's only one original book of Mark.
Exactly.
There's only one
Exactly.
original book of Luke.
Yes, they copied
Okay.
them. Yes, they
So-
copied them because they had to, send them out to the, members in the church.
Okay.
Yes, I agree.
So do we have access to any of those?
Do we have the access to any of the New Testament?
The original scripts of the New or Old Testament.
I mean, hey, how does a piece of paper last thousands of years if
Yeah.
you pass it and use it over and over again?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, we have
Really?
P50,
I have
P52, and P52 is the most, contemporary New Testament. It's a tiny scrap of paper. It's still quite a bit older than when it is supposed to have been written. But the answer is no, Jay. We do not have those original texts. So, your response was there's only one original text. We don't have access to it. We do have copies that we push that we see. There are hundreds.
Copies. There you go.
There are hundreds
Right.
of
Original
interpretations
copies
of the
of the
Bible.
original.
Okay, you guys, both of you, hold on. We're getting off topic. We're getting off track. We've got about 20 minutes left.
Oh my gosh.
And
Okay.
I don't want to get bogged down on this because this isn't what Jay called in about.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, hey,
Jay,
can I ask one
Jay,
more question, please? Please.
Hold on.
One more question.
Jay, I just recently
It'll take
worked on
2
a video.
minutes.
I just recently worked on a video with Holy Kool-Aid. He just recently put it out. It's the problem of actually, it's the most recent video. You should check it out. It completely answers the thing that you're talking about, or mostly. V,
Okay.
get us back on track,
Okay.
for fuck's sake, please.
Jay, what is your question?
Yeah. How would you feel if you were wrong and you find out that everything you said was a lie, and you led all these people that are listening to you down the wrong path? How would you feel?
Got it.
Yeah,
lies are intentional.
No.
Do you understand that? No.
I mean, how would you feel?
No,
Everybody's been
Jay,
tricked.
Jay, being wrong doesn't mean you're lying. Do you understand that?
I never said you were lying. I just said,
No,
how
you
would you
said
feel?
if you found out everything you said was a lie. I don't think you're listening to the things that are coming out of your mouth, and that's a problem because I'm holding you to account for it. You need to be careful with the things you're saying.
I'll turn it around for me. How would I feel if God was a lie and I believed everything that wasn't true? I lived a good life. I didn't hurt anybody. That's how I would feel if I switched the reverses. You know what I mean?
Okay.
But
so
I think that being an atheist holds more. You are hold to more, I guess, accountability because there's a judgment at the end, and there's a real place called hell, and in that real place, nobody wants to be there.
Hey,
you choose to live without God.
Jay,
so therefore,
Jay,
the consequences are
Jay,
there.
if you want to call back in again, you need to realize that you cannot evangelize on our channel. If you do it again, you will not be welcome back. Jay, try it again.
No, wait, hold on.
Try it again and you get dropped. Do you understand me? This is not a place to preach.
Why didn't you want to answer the question, though?
I'll answer the question, but you just waxed poetic, philosophical into trying to preach to our audience. This is our channel, dude. Respect that.
Jay.
No, I will. That's just my opinion.
That's
what I'm saying.
Guys, focus, please. Quiet coyote. Look, Jay, my answer to your question is exactly the same answer that you gave to me. I led a good life. I didn't hurt anybody. I was honest in the way that I looked at the world, and I took a risk. And I decided that I was going to follow my own moral compass because I thought that that was the right thing to do. And if it wasn't the right thing to do, then I will live with the consequences or, unlive with the consequences. But I would also say that I would not feel badly about my life, even if it ended up being wrong, because I think that any God that is worth being around, worth worshiping, worth believing in, would understand.
Oh, you can't preach.
I am working
You can't
on,
preach. You're
it's
just
my
preaching.
channel,
Remember what he just
Jay.
said?
Jay,
This is his thing. You can't
Jay.
preach.
this is our
You're
channel.
preaching.
Jay.
No, you can't preach. See, everybody, you guys
Okay.
can preach, but
Jay.
everybody else
We
can't preach.
tried. We tried.
Yeah.
You could
Jay.
you could down God,
Jay.
and you could say that there is no
Jay.
God, but therefore you're a communist.
I haven't muted.
You're
I'm a
just a communist.
We're communists, apparently.
Okay.
Yeah, you're just a communist.
It's a slur.
Because if you go
Got
to a
it.
Christian
Jay.
creation, we don't do
Jay.
that to you. We
Let
let
me
you
mute him. Can I
speak,
mute him?
and
No,
we
I
let
want
you
to hear what
say
he's
your.
saying.
Oh, I muted him. Hold on, let me unmute him.
You guys are dishonest.
Okay, so Jay, there's. Oh, he hung up. Oh.
That was unexpected.
Okay,
We definitely
so-
didn't want him to do that.
No, okay. Eric got pissed, and Eric's going to talk for just a minute. Number one, if you're going to use slurs, make sure at least the other person understands what you're saying. Calling somebody a communist means that you have a political difference. The fact that you grew up in a society, or you grew up in a culture that uses communism as a slur, means you're never going to have productive conversations with other people. So try again, take that tool out of your toolbox. It's dumb. And all it does is tell the rest of the world that you haven't taken the slightest amount of time to research it to realize that it's a dumb argument. And so, you know what? That's on you. It is on you to recognize that you didn't do a modicum of research. Next, it is our channel. If V's going to respond and say that, if a God that's worth worshiping, if there's a God worth worshiping, they would understand that V did their best with what they knew and understood. That's not preaching. Let me tell you what preaching is, right? Evangelizing is called for in the Bible. It is the Great Commission.
Yep.
That is something that we don't have. We don't have a Great Commission. We're not here to tell people about Jesus Christ. We're not here to convince them that they're sinners. We're not telling people that there's a blood curse that they need to try and fight so that they can go to heaven or go to eternal torment. All of those things are things that you're doing, and saying that they may not be true isn't preaching. It's just challenging you on your assertion. The fact that you would call us dishonest after all of that when we listened and are trying to understand just means you're not ready to have the conversation. Call in when you understand what communist means. If you use it as a slur, I'm just going to laugh at you and hang up. What the hell was that?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I felt bad, honestly. Jay very clearly was out of his depth. And I'm assuming it's
I'm sure Jay's friends think that he's the smartest one in the group. That oh my gosh, Jay can have these conversations. Call into us. Okay, cool. Up your game because it's not working.
Yeah. That was painful. Honestly, you guys,
Yeah, for people who are saying that's a troll, it's not.
Unfortunately, these kinds of people make up a majority of the group that is currently in control of our government. So that's fun.
If you think that person's a troll, you've never met elders at a church.
Right. And also calling theists who are bad at what they believe, which is what Jay is, trolls, and dismissing them is kind of the same thing as only talking to internet commenters who say they're atheists and our 12-year-old boys who are, trying to get a rise out of you and saying, oh, all atheists hate God.
So people who believe in us, who believe the same things that we do, other atheists, other skeptics, we're holding you to account. Up your game, do better, because calling somebody a troll just to dismiss them is not right.
Oh,
it doesn't work, doesn't help.
All right. Anyway, let's move on. We have time for one more quick call.
Oh my gosh, we have so many though.
We have many. I would like to talk to Alan in Michigan.
Okay. I don't think I have a tag for Alan, so I'll grab Alan.
Hello,
I
D.
heard a
Eric.
cat. Hi,
Hello.
Alan.
Hi.
Hey.
And before we get started, congratulations, you guys.
Thank you. I'm assuming that is for the engagement.
Yes.
Yay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I heard you mention it on one of your other shows.
Yeah.
I just discovered your show, by the way.
Oh, cheers.
Well, welcome.
What a day to discover. Okay.
Yeah, for real. You are a recent atheist and would like to talk about that a little bit. Okay. Let's dive in.
Though, as you were talking to other guests, I came up with a couple other points. If Jay's still listening, I'm a communist.
Well, there you go.
You are you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, no.
You should investigate. He should investigate anarchism. before he starts talking about anymore.
I mean,
But
I feel like that would be a little bit beyond the scope of what he would be comfortable doing. But Alan, give us a little bit about where you're at now and how we might be able to help you.
Well, yeah, that's where I started. Actually, I became an anarchist, which means you need to study. And then I started looking at my own faith. I was a Baha'i.
Okay.
I was a Baha'i for 40 years.
Wow. All right.
Which involved a lot of special pleading because the Baha'is have a very anthropological, I guess, view of religion, other religions. But then in the case of the Baha'i faith, it's just like, no, this is a revelation, and we have all of the sources, and we don't have the same problem as Islam or Christianity with the paucity of sources. So I just yes, I'm in a much better religion, and I just didn't catch myself thinking that.
Yeah, I've met a good number of really, really nice Baha'i people that I've had wonderful conversations with.
Yes.
The only thing that really killed me with the Baha'i is obviously I don't believe what they believe, but also there's a lot of misogyny kind of baked in there that I've seen. Yeah, women aren't allowed to hold certain roles. Right? It's weird. But anyway, we're getting off topic.
Well, that's how I mean. I started looking at it more closely, and then it's like, okay, well, this doesn't fit, and this doesn't fit. And by the way, why am I just giving Baha'u'llah the pass based on his own word that he's a prophet? So I started looking at it the way I looked at every other religion. It's like, okay, this doesn't hold up either. It holds up a little better, and it does have the attraction of some humanitarian principles, but they even claim to believe that men and women are equal, but then when you dig a little deeper, you realize you're right.
Yeah.
It's not the case.
Well, that's
not quite the
similar.
case.
I think that is a very common feeling, regardless of your religion. Everyone else has their religion, and you can look at it from a sociological perspective, but we're the ones that have the real answers. And as much as we want to believe that we are the most humane or the most humanitarian religion out there, looking at the actual, tenets of that religion may contradict that. We are going to have to wrap up soon. Is there anything that we can help with? Any questions that have kind of been coming up for you?
I called in, I had a question, and then I just had this total brain fart. So
no worries.
I'm hoping it comes back to me before your next show, and then I'll have it, and then I can call. But I also wanted to just put out there that there are ex-Baha'is, because I've seen I've seen an old AE video where the caller was obviously a Baha'i, even though he didn't identify himself, and then one video from what is her name, Nuria Khan, the Pakistani ex-Muslim, who has a YouTube channel, and that's the only reference. And I know there are other ex-Baha'is out there that just have nowhere to turn, because it's like Jehovah's Witness or Mormons. I mean, you leave the faith, you lose
a lot of community,
everything.
Yeah. That's really hard, especially because we don't talk about that religion quite a lot at all. So I can imagine it would be difficult to find community. We do have a Discord, so I would be very surprised if someone else was either ex-Baha'i or knew somebody or a resource for you. So definitely check it out.
Yeah, your screener mentioned Discord, so I'll be definitely checking that out. I did want to mention one other thing since Jay was talking about it. Baha'is believe this is the end times. And the end times just means the end of this era and the beginning of a new era. They're not apocalyptic.
Yeah, it's an interesting, flexible faith that I don't have enough info about. I'm just But I hope that.
Well, no, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Eric.
I was just going to say, I hope that people who are currently Baha'i are interested in calling and talking to us.
Yeah, love to learn more. Alan, thank you for calling in. I really do hope that you find the question you were trying to get to and call back next week.
Yeah,
I will, and I'll be listening otherwise besides. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Take care.
Have a good rest of your day.
I got a little hot under the collar this episode.
Yeah, I'm surprised. You were like, I'm going to be real chill today.
Well, it's because I've been in a really, really kind of rough. It was going to be one or the other.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, is the one that was more interesting for me. So.
Yeah, you're hosting. I just railroad you. I'm sorry.
We're good. All right, you guys. So we have something embarrassing to admit to you, which is.
It's not. It's not our fault.
Well, it's not, because YouTube is stupid. But
YouTube has dropped our super chats.
Yeah, YouTube has decided that we don't get to see what the super chats are this week.
So we see the two most recent.
Holy crap.
But like we had some wonderful super chats from awesome people who we care about and we want to thank, and we're not able to, and I'm really heartbroken about it.
Yeah.
So we're going to read the last two. And for those people who gave super chats, one person. Actually, if I try and do it from memory, I'm going to ruin it. Thank you for those people who give super chats that YouTube dropped. We're so sorry that we lost them. J-R-O-J-A, I don't know how to pronounce that.
Jirojala.
Sure. Sent $19.99, says, you guys need a nice relaxing drink after that one.
For real.
Ooh, that does sound good.
For real, I'm going to go get a gummy. It's going to be great. JC sent $66.60.
Wow, thank you.
Thank you, JC. And JC says, thank you for your show.
And Kenshin491 sent $5 and says, just wanted to give you two something. You two are great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, sorry, you guys. We really did want to get to all of them, but they're gone, and we don't know how to get them back. If we figure out how to do that, we will absolutely try our best. But we do appreciate it, and we are counting every cent towards our goal of getting an editing computer and hiring a producer. Those are still things that are on our list, and every single penny goes directly to that. So thank you.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Somebody compared us to Frodo and Sam in the live chat. Mm-hmm. And they called me Sam.
I know.
And that's one of the nicest things I've ever, I'm going to be riding that high for the rest of the day. Anyway, anything else before we go? Patreon, we're going to be doing a hangout with patrons on the 22nd. We're going to announce it again next week, but we just wanted to let you know that that is coming up.
Absolutely. And again, feel free to share this out. We do release the clips of all of the episodes. So if you have one that you think is useful to making a point somewhere else or helping a family member or a friend through something, feel free to share it. That's what they're there for. That's what we want to happen. So yeah, just subscribe. And
if you want to not hear the clicking that apparently was going on this episode, check out the podcast because I will have removed it. So
yes.
Cheers.
And you get a live stream without the clicking if you're a patron.
If you're a patron, you get the
accidental perk.
And also ad free. So cheers to that.
All right, you guys, thank you so much, and we will see you next week. In the meantime, we're glad we had this talk.